Hello again everyone, and welcome back to Skyblock News. I'm your co-host Celestial Milk, and today Derailious and I will be covering the Day 3 changes for the latest mining update on the Alpha Network, which includes some significant buffs to Mythril Powder rates, as well as various other features. Before we begin, I just want to say that Derailious is less than 10 subscribers away from 70k, so if you could like and hit that subscribe button down below, that would really mean a ton. Without further ado, let's begin. Now starting off, there are a couple Day 2 changes that are pretty notable, including improvements to recall potions, which are now commonly found in treasure chests instead of the crystal nucleus. Left click on these items to save a location, right click to teleport there, which consumes the item. The color of the item changes depending on what biome you have saved to the item, as well as some forge timer changes. All drills, drill engines, fuel tanks, and chisels now only take 30 seconds to forge, except for the first in the respective lines. All reforged stones now only take 6 hours to forge, and all upgrade modules now only take 18 hours to forge, as well as an hour added on to Devon Armor Forge Timer, which brings it to a flat 24 hours. Glaciite, Tungsten, and Umber will now all drop vanilla XP orbs. Mining spread is no longer disabled for stranded players on their private island.
Next up, we have a metric ton of Day 3 changes. The first and probably most notable one is that the gold NPC sell price has been dropped from 4 to 3 coins. There's also a crazy amount of changes to Mythril Powder, with Powder Gas dropping roughly triple the amount of Mythril Powder that they used to. Raffle and Goblin events now give 5,000 total Mythril Powder for participation, which used to be 2,000. You also earn an additional 10 Mythril Powder per raffle ticket turned in, and 20 per goblin you kill in the Goblin Raid. Winning the raffle will also triple your Mythril Powder rewards, and if you win in terms of the Goblin Raid, everyone gets doubled rewards. Each tasty Mythril turned into Don Espresso grants you 50 Mythril Powder, and if you satisfy his hunger for Mythril, everyone gets doubled rewards as well. Next up, the admins significantly buffed the Gleaming Crystals Reforge, now also giving mining spread during mining fiestas. And as you can see at Divine Rarity, it gives you 75 mining speed, mining fortune, and also 35 lustrous bonus, which by the way gives you mining spread during mining fiestas again. So at Divine Rarity, it's going to give you 35 mining spread. They've also halved the mining speed granted by the Goblin Pet's Fetid Thief perk, and doubled the drop rate of blue goblin eggs. They've also reduced participation requirements for the Goblin Raid event back down to 25 kills, which in my opinion is a great change. The Dwarven Metal Talisman will now also grant you 15 Dwarven Metal Fortune instead of its current ability. There's also a bunch of mining armor balance changes. Flamebreaker, Yogg, and Heat Armor all got changes here, and Flamebreaker and Yogg got buffed, while Heat Armor got nerfed by half in terms of its mining speed per piece. The revamped Scatha Pets perk is pretty nice as well. They've removed Wormhole and changed it to Drill Infusion, now granting you a ton of Gemstone Fortune on drills. Previously, this just gave you a bunch of mining spread on Hardstone, which wasn't really needed with the new Mole perk, which is incredibly strong for mining Hardstone. They readjusted Efficient Miner to only have 100 levels, while the stats and cost remain the same. They've also fixed Strong Arm, giving Dwarven Metal Fortune instead of mining speed on Dwarven Metals. They've also readjusted the core of the mountain level costs, with Mythril being unchanged, Gemstone being reduced by 50,000, and Glaciite Powder being reduced by 750,000, which is really nice. However, there is no refund for players who already made these purchases. Boo. They've also removed the ×12 titanium drop from the Dark Monolith, and removed the temporary effect from Dwarven O's.
Before we continue, make sure you use code RAIL in the Hypixel store for 5% off your order, especially if you're planning on buying this week's fire sale. The code has really changed our lives and we have you guys to thank for that, so thank you all so much. Now to Chris's section for the analysis of the changes to Alpha.
Alright, before you guys jump me in the comment section for not talking about the gold change, let's talk about it. I think that the overall change here is good. The admins have decided that gold needs to be a good money-making method. And yesterday, when I said it made 40 mil an hour, I was actually underestimating it by quite a bit. People since then have done testing with efficient setups, and have gotten as high as 60 million an hour to NPC. That is a little bit absurd for something as easy as mining gold, and I kind of agree with the nerf. Generally, they do want it to make a ton of money, and you will still be able to hit 40 mil an hour after the patch, just not as easily as before. You will need an efficient setup, which in my opinion is totally fine. It's still going to be useful for Iron Man players, and it's still going to be a great money-making method. Something a little bit less controversial is all of the changes to Mythril Powder, and I've got to say I love everything they did there. Early game players are going to have a great time doing the events and actually getting rewarded a decent amount of Mythril Powder, and if you stack a ton of buffs to Mythril Powder while doing these events, you're going to be getting something like 30,000 Mythril per event you do, which is actually fairly significant. Not to mention the fact that they've just generally improved the Mythril getting experience in the Dwarven Mines, and I really do think people are going to be grinding here for a lot of Mythril really quickly, so I don't have as many problems with the system. I've got to say the admins balanced this pretty well. In terms of smaller changes, there were a ton of improvements to the recall potions, and I've got to say they actually seem worth it to use, especially if you don't have all of the warps unlocked. Also, the forge changes are just great. I think things taking less time in general will be greatly appreciated by the community. Combine that with a bunch of the buffs we have for forge time, and things are looking pretty good. Lustrous also got majorly buffed. I think a lot of people are going to be really happy about that. And the Scatha buff is also great as well. Previously, Wormhole was just not useful anymore. Mold does more than good enough for mining Hardstone, and we've seen values on Hardstone go up a lot. People with an efficient setup were able to get as high as 28 million an hour, which is going to be great when it releases on the main server. Overall, I've got to say that the admins have really proved that they care about us with this update. They have made a ton of feedback changes and improvements, and I think things are looking pretty great from a balancing perspective. We got more buffs today, more improvements to the game, and a bunch of features that I think people have been asking for a long while. On top of that, I think that the gold change is indeed necessary. Previously, if they just left gold untouched, it would have been way too powerful when this update released, and bringing it down a little bit does still make it a very strong money-making method. Wrapping up here, I am definitely very happy with the direction this update is heading in, and am excited to talk about more changes hopefully tomorrow. Thank you so much to Jade for actually appearing in this video. I know it was a little bit stressful, but she did an incredible job. Everyone thank her and go subscribe to her and, I don't know, talk about her in the comments. She'll love that. At the end of the day though, my name is Derailious. Thank you so much for watching this video till the end, and look to the future, fellas. I'll see you then.